These are the top most common questions we get from people about moving to Raleigh. Stick around.
The most common question we get is, which town is best for me? And honestly, that's really too personal of a question to answer on this video. It's gonna depend on a lot of different factors about you and what you're looking for in a town. But in general, I will say there's really a place for everyone here. If you want the city life, though our cities aren't like, I mean, it's not like New York City or anything like that, but this area can provide that through Raleigh or Durham. If you want like the suburb heaven, right, you can find that in places like Cary or Apex or Wake Forest. You know, if you want more space and more land, you can find that in places like Chapel Hill or Hillsborough. And so there's really a spot here for everyone depending on what you're looking for and what your goals are.
Yeah, for sure. There really are very distinct towns in the Triangle, all of them feeling like, you know, this is one large area, but each one really does have its own feel and culture, and each one provides something different for different people. And we have specific videos on every town in the Triangle, lots of them on the channel. So if you want to dig deep into one of those, you can. And if you want to dig deep into, hey, I don't have time to watch all these videos, I want to talk specifically about my situation, we love hopping on Zoom calls with folks to help narrow it down based on your personality, what you're looking for, what your budget is, things like that. Happy to do that, and you can find our contact info below to do that. So next on the list that we get a lot is this a good place to live or move my family to? So is this a family-friendly area? And yes, absolutely. I feel like Raleigh area in general is probably one of the most family-friendly places to live in the country, it seems like. You know, we've got great schools, lots of universities here as kids are, you know, graduating if your kids are older, lots of green space and parks, easy access to so much outdoor space. It's just a very family-friendly area. And when people are continuing to walk down this journey, like obviously schools are a huge question. And schools here are really complicated. You know, we have a lot of, you know, districted schools, like that typical situation that you probably grew up in. You just go to the school that is assigned to your house. Like that is an option here. But North Carolina and the Triangle specifically has a lot of charter schools as well. These are still free public schools, but they are lottery based, not home address based. So it makes things kind of complicated. There's also a lot of magnet schools and a lot of private schools, homeschool co-ops. There's so much here in the area, a lot of school choice. So we always like to recommend people talk to a school consultant before moving to the area if that's something that you want to really nail down, is like, school is the most important thing for us to figure out. And we do have a great contact for that. So if that's someone you're interested in talking to, feel free to send us a message anytime and we can put you in contact with them so that you can kind of figure out where the best school options might be for you. But in general, Wake County is one of the best school systems in North Carolina. It is the largest in North Carolina and the 4th best according to niche.com. So you really do have a lot of good options here.
Yeah, you do. Another question we get often is, do I need a car? And the answer to that is yes, you will need a car. So some of our downtowns like a Durham or Raleigh, the bigger cities, will provide to a degree a walkable lifestyle, but that has severe limitations in our area. And those limitations typically are going to come in the form of things like grocery stores that just don't really exist in those downtown areas. So could you live downtown, walk to places like restaurants or breweries or parks? Yes, but you're also at some point going to need to go to the grocery store. And in those instances,
like tiny markets downtown.
But it's not. It's just our area is not a walkable area. Public transportation here is nothing like what you find in other large metros either. So it is an area where you 100% will need a car.
Another question we get a lot is about the weather here. I think in general, sometimes people do have kind of a misconception that because North Carolina's in the South that it's hot all the time, and it's definitely not.
It's pretty chilly today.
Like it's actually a little bit chilly today. Yeah, so summer, you know, yes, summer's gonna be hot. It's gonna be humid.
Summer's brutal.
You know, but winter's also gonna be cold and you're gonna need a jacket. It's like gonna be, you know, not a ton of like snow and ice generally. Like we'll get 1 or 2 snows a year typically. If we get one at all. But you know, it is still gonna be cold. You're gonna have a mild, I would still consider the winter to be kind of mild. You know, and a spring and a fall. So it's a place with 4 seasons, but you do have kind of a more extreme summer, I would say, than like maybe other places. But you know, in general, this is a mild climate. You're gonna experience all 4 seasons. So if you kind of love that, then you're gonna like it here. If you're trying to go somewhere where it's never gonna be cold, that's not gonna be the case here.
Yeah, and the only thing I would add on to that is seasonal allergies. So like pollen season is just insane here in the springtime. And I mean, if you read about it being bad, it is 100% accurate.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible.
Yeah. So another one we get a lot is what is there to do for fun around Raleigh? And you know, this is, I mean, like Zach mentioned, there's not a ton of public transportation and stuff here, but there's also not like this is not a touristy place. So when you're coming into the area, maybe compared to other large metros, like it's not a touristy place, but there is a lot to do for people that live here and want to enjoy it. A lot of that really kind of going with the nature scene around here, a lot of parks. You got Umstead State Park, which is huge. So if you enjoy hiking and stuff, like you're gonna love this area. A lot of like green spaces and parks and a lot of like great playgrounds and things for kids to do. But as far as like a nightlife, I wouldn't say it has like the most bustling nightlife in the world, but there are plenty of places to go and things to see. You've got the Carolina Hurricanes.
College athletics.
Lots of college athletics. So there is a pretty big sports scene here. You know, there's not a professional football team or anything like that, but there is plenty to do for people that are sports fans and plenty to do for people that want to spend lots of time outside, you know, but it is, I would just say, I feel like the highlight of things to do here really is going to come down to spending time outside.
Yeah. Next question we get a lot is, what is the job market like? And in general, the job market here is very strong. So actually the unemployment percentage in the Raleigh area is 1% lower than the national level, which is kind of fascinating. So in September of this year, so I guess last month, it was 3.6% in the Raleigh area. The national was 4.5%, so it's about 1% lower. But we do have some really great industries in our area as well. Things like healthcare, biotech, the traditional tech scene as well. So companies like Pfizer, Novo Nordisk, Duke, I mean, those are companies that, you could Cisco and IBM, I mean, you could just keep listing name after name after name, but those are companies that really dominate our region. And it's not just in the Research Triangle Park, even though that's, you know, a large like corporate section of our region, but these organizations are really spread throughout. And so you do have a great job market here in the region.
For sure. And a question that's obviously incredibly important to people when they're considering a move to the area is, how much does it cost to move here? And this area in general, I feel like when you Google things, it's a little misleading because it might tell you like, oh, it's the median home prices in the 4s. It's like, well, they're really looking at a really large spread out area that I would not necessarily consider still being in the triangle. So I feel like if you're gonna move to this area, it's good to be realistic about what at least for a single family home, what that's gonna be. If you're looking for single family homes in Cary or Chapel Hill, those median prices are expensive. We're talking like the low to mid 7s. That doesn't mean everything is in that price point, but you know, that is a median. So, you know, there are going to be areas like Cary and Chapel Hill that are pretty pricey, and then you have places that are not as expensive.
Yeah, and so Raleigh, for example, is going to be $535,000. That's the median home price. Durham's a little less than that. Durham's $464,000. So it is on kind of the lower end as far as like the larger areas, and you can find less than that too, right? If you're looking at a place like a Wendell or a Clayton, or some of the more like further out suburbs of Raleigh, you're gonna pull those prices down closer to $400,000. But in general, yeah, like if you look up average home price in Raleigh, it's probably gonna kick out, because it's pulling in the whole metro. It's gonna kick out like a low 4 number, and that can happen depending on which suburb you choose, but realistically, it's gonna be more expensive than that.
For sure.
The next question we get a lot is, what are the taxes? So I'll break it down into 3 different categories. One is your state income tax. So North Carolina is a flat rate income tax. This year, 2025, it is 4.5%. Next year, that'll decrease down to 3.99%, which is kind of nice. So that's the state income tax. You also have sales tax, and there's a state level sales tax, and there's also a county element that's like tacked on to the sales tax. So like, For example, in Wake County, I thought I had this memorized, but I don't. I think it's 7.25%, and in Durham County, it's 7.5%. I think those are correct. It's roughly right there at it. So there's not a big difference between like the counties in the region as far as what your sales tax is. They're going to be pretty close together. And then lastly, there's property taxes. So in Raleigh, it is Raleigh city tax plus Wake County tax added together, and it's 0.87%, so it's under 1%. So obviously, if your home is assessed at 1% of 500,000 would be $5,000 annually in your taxes. So I don't know what 0.87% of that is off the top of my head, but that's roughly, that kind of gives you a general idea. It's going to be less than that 1% mark.
So what's up with HOAs? We get that question a lot. People want to come and move to an area without an HOA. Like, a lot of people feel very, very strongly about that. Unfortunately, our area is full of HOAs. About 70% of the homes for sale in the last year have had an HOA. That doesn't always mean what people think it means. I think people think that means like there's someone's gonna come measure your grass, or you.
But they could.
I mean, some can be like that, but a lot are pretty chill, you're gonna drive through the neighborhood and be like, oh, I'm surprised this has an HOA. It doesn't seem like that manicured, I suppose, but that is gonna be common, especially in any home built like in the 1980s or after in a subdivision, most likely is going to have an HOA. That doesn't mean every single one does, but if you are adamant about not having an HOA, I think you need to be flexible in the fact that you're probably gonna be in an older home and you might be in a place that probably you're not going to potentially be in the city limits where you're going to have like a well and a septic. So
and what people don't realize is even if you don't have an HOA, you probably have restrictive covenants.
Yeah,
and so those covenants are still in a lot of cases binding. There's just not a HOA there to enforce it, but your neighbors could enforce it. So another question we get a lot is, are there bugs or snakes? And the answer to that is yes. We've taken this shot like 10 times and Cindy's already cracking up again. We're gonna push through it. There are bugs and there are snakes in our area. I mean, it's not like, I don't think it's that bad. I don't know why the area has like a bad reputation for bugs and snakes, but it's really not that bad, I don't think.
Yeah, I think you Google it and you're like, oh, it's like, people think it's like Australia filled with
it's not.
Just copperheads and stuff everywhere. There are copperheads in North Carolina, which is really like one of the only venomous snakes you're gonna find in the area, but they're not like everywhere. You're not just gonna like wake up and find one in your bathroom or something like that. I've lived here my whole life and I've never had a like snake bite encounter. I feel like I know a few people that have been bit by a snake, but it's always in a like precarious situation where they're like gardening and lifting up a bunch of rocks and there's a snake.
One thing I will say, like, mosquitoes are horrible. I mean, there's just no denying that. But outside of mosquitoes, I don't feel like our area is like, I don't feel like it justifies whatever reputation it has.
Granted, this is the place we've always lived in North Carolina, so we don't have like a lot of experience in other areas with bugs and stings, but I don't think that we have like an exceedingly strange amount of wildlife in the area that should be a reason to not move somewhere.
Yeah, definitely not. We are Zach and Cindy Honeycutt, a couple of real estate agents in the area. So if you are looking to buy or sell, or if you just have questions about the area, maybe a question that we didn't address, you can reach us at the contact info below.
Yep, and we'd love to have you follow along on Instagram. You can find us at the Honeycutt Realtors. Feel free to send us a message there anytime. If you ever see us out and about, feel free to come say hey. We love catching up with people that watch the videos.
Yep, for sure. We'll see y'all next time.